The rain came down in sheets that night, a relentless pounding against the windows of Blackwood Manor, a forgotten estate that had been left to rot on the outskirts of the small coastal town of Marrow's End. The place had a reputation. Children whispered of its corridors, lovers dared each other to touch its gates at midnight, and elders shook their heads as though even speaking of it would invite misfortune. Yet for Catherine Hale, a young historian drawn to the obscure and forbidden, the manor was not just a curiosity. It was an obsession. She had first read about it in a brittle diary she discovered in the town archives, a book that belonged to a servant from the 1800s who wrote in terrified fragments about the mistress of Blackwood. No name, no birth record, no marriage certificate, just the mistress, a woman who appeared in the manor overnight and held the house in her grip with a beauty so commanding and a cruelty so sharp that even men with iron wills bent to her. The servant's entries grew darker until the final page was written in smeared ink. She walks even when the lamps die. The mistress does not forgive. Catherine, hungry for forgotten truths, felt the call. That's how she found herself at the manor's gates under the storm, clutching her lantern and recorder, ignoring the warnings of every local who told her not to go. The air smelled of iron and earth, as though something ancient was stirring beneath the soil. The gates groaned as she pushed them open, their rust shrieking against the storm. Inside, the manor was a cathedral of shadows. The ceilings arched high, draped in cobwebs, and every surface was coated in dust thick as ash. Yet what unsettled her most was the mirror in the foyer, a towering gilt-edged thing that seemed far too clean. Rainwater trickled down Catherine's coat as she approached it, and for a moment, she swore the reflection moved a second slower than her own body. Her eyes widened, and she whispered into her recorder. Unnatural delay in mirror reflection. Possible optical distortion, or something else. She explored. Every room told a story of sudden abandonment, chairs overturned, candles melted into twisted forms, and gowns still hanging in wardrobes, as if their owners had vanished mid-breath. The deeper she wandered, the stronger the feeling that she was not alone. Whispers curled around her ears, just beyond clarity. She blamed the wind until she entered the ballroom. It was vast, with chandeliers looming like skeletal remains and a floor of black marble that reflected her lantern in fractured streaks. And there, in the center, stood a woman. Catherine froze. The woman's gown was deep crimson, untouched by dust, flowing across the floor like spilled blood. Her skin was pale as bone, her lips sharp and painted dark, and her eyes gleamed gold in the lantern light. The mistress. You should not have come, the woman said, her voice a melody threaded with threat. Catherine tried to steady her recorder, stammering, I only want to know the truth. The mistress smiled, slow and knowing. Truth is a cruel thing. It binds those who seek it. The next hours unfolded in a haze of terror. The mistress did not vanish like a ghost or dissolve into shadow. She walked, she spoke, she commanded. Catherine learned that the woman was bound to the manor, sustained by those who entered and dared to look upon her. Each intruder gave her strength. Each secret revealed chained her further to this world. But Catherine's historian heart refused to flee. She followed, documenting. She saw portraits in the gallery where faces had been gouged out, except for the mistress's image, perfectly preserved. She found journals from men and women across centuries, each describing how they came to Blackwood, each ending in the same way: obsession, surrender, disappearance. And as the storm raged, Catherine began to feel it too, the pull. The mistress's beauty was unbearable, like staring into the sun. Her words dripped into Catherine's ears, sweet and poisonous. Stay. Write my story. Be mine. Sleep eluded her. When she closed her eyes in the guest chamber, she dreamed of dancing in the ballroom, her hands pressed into the mistress's cold fingers, her body moving against a will not her own. She would wake with her skin damp, as though she had truly been there. By the third night, the line between dream and waking shattered. Catherine wandered halls she did not remember, whispering the mistress's name under her breath, her recorder filled with gibberish she could not recall speaking. She tried to escape, but the doors led her back inside. The windows showed only darkness, no storm, no stars. And the mistress watched, always, her smile widening as Catherine's resistance crumbled. The final entry in Catherine's recorder trembled with desperation. She does not want to be remembered. She wants to be obeyed. This house is not haunted. It is her body, her heart, her trap. If anyone finds this, do not enter. Do not look for me. I belong to her now. The recorder was found weeks later at the manor's gate, its metal rusted but intact. Catherine Hale was never seen again. Blackwood Manor remains abandoned, its windows black, its doors chained by those who fear to touch them. But locals still whisper that on stormy nights, a lantern glows in the ballroom, and the faint sound of a woman's voice carries on the wind. Stay. Write my story. Be mine. The storm outside did not stop, but Catherine no longer trusted it to be real. On the fourth night, when she pressed her ear to the walls of Blackwood Manor, she heard not rain but whispers, hundreds of them, as though the house was alive with forgotten tongues. The voices belonged to those who had come before her. Some begged for release, others wailed in eternal grief, and a few laughed in delirium, mocking her for believing she could escape. She tried the recorder again, though her hand shook so badly that the words fractured. Day. I don't know. No doors, only corridors that bent back, her eyes in every mirror. Indeed, the mirrors were the worst. Every hall seemed to hold one, and though she covered them with sheets, the sheets always fell when she returned. The reflections did not match her movements anymore. Sometimes she saw herself smiling when her face was slack with terror. Other times, she saw the mistress behind her shoulder, crimson gown bleeding across the reflection even when the room itself was empty. One evening, she dared to confront it. Standing before the great gilt mirror in the foyer, Catherine whispered, Why me? Why do you keep me here? Her reflection's mouth curved upward before hers did. The mistress appeared in the glass, her hand gliding across Catherine's shoulder though no one touched her in the real room. Because you came looking, the voice said, echoing through both the mirror and the air around her. And once you look for me, you belong to me. The glass rippled like water. For one horrifying second, Catherine thought she was being pulled inside. She staggered back, but her chest burned as though invisible fingers had pressed against her heart. She collapsed, gasping. When she woke, she was in a bedchamber she had never entered before, a room still alive with color. The bed was dressed in silks, the fire roared in the hearth, and candles flickered, freshly lit. On the vanity sat a silver brush, a vial of perfume, and a folded letter sealed with red wax. With trembling hands, Catherine broke the seal. To my chronicler. You are chosen. Do not resist. Tonight, you dine with me. The words seared her eyes, but she could not throw the letter away. Instead, as though compelled by a hand guiding her spine, she found herself dressed in a gown that had not been there before. Black velvet, stitched with threads of crimson. It fit her perfectly, as though tailored for her long before she was born. The dining hall was lit with chandeliers, every candle aflame, though the air carried no warmth. A long table stretched before her, silverware gleaming, goblets brimming with dark red wine. At the head sat the mistress, flawless, eternal, her eyes gold fire in the candlelight. Sit, she commanded. Catherine obeyed, her body stiff. The food on her plate looked rich, venison, figs, bread still steaming, but when she lifted the fork, the meat writhed, crawling with maggots. She gagged and dropped it, but the mistress only smiled. You still see it as it was, she said softly. In time, you will see as I do. The rot beneath the silk, the hunger beneath the love. This house is my heart, Catherine. Its walls are my ribs, its halls my veins. And you, she leaned forward, her beauty unbearable. You are my pulse. Catherine's throat dried. You need me. The mistress's laughter was like wind chimes, beautiful and horrifying. All who enter feed me.
But few are worthy to stay.
You are stubborn, clever. You write. You remember. Through you, I will not fade. The candles flickered violently, their flames bending toward Catherine as though reaching hands. She shoved back from the table, bolting for the hall. Her footsteps echoed like gunshots, the corridors twisting endlessly. She slammed open doors, only to find the same ballroom, the same dining hall, the same bedroom repeating like a labyrinth designed to break her mind. Finally, she stumbled into the library. Books lined the walls from floor to ceiling, their spines cracked, their pages yellowing. Desperate, she began tearing them down, searching for something, anything, that might explain the curse. Her lantern threw wild shadows as she flipped through diaries, grimoires, even letters never sent. Then she found it. A leather-bound book with no title, its pages written in a hand so sharp it seemed carved rather than inked. It told the story of a woman scorned centuries ago, a mistress who is not wife, not bride, not mother, but something else, something untouchable. Betrayed, poisoned, buried beneath the manor, she had clawed her way back with rage so fierce that death could not contain it. She bound herself to the estate, feeding on devotion, on fear, on obsession. Her name had been erased from history, stripped away so that only the mistress remained. And with no name, no memory, she could not die. Catherine's fingers trembled on the page. She whispered, "If I can find her name." The air grew cold. The candles guttered out. And from the shadows between the shelves, the mistress stepped forward, her gown brushing the floor like liquid blood. "You will not speak it," she hissed. "You will not take it from me." Catherine ran. This time the doors did not twist. They slammed shut. The mistress's laughter followed her, sweet and venomous. "Run, little chronicler. Run until you fall. You will return to me. You always do." Her lungs burned as she reached the foyer again. The mirror loomed, reflecting not her, but the mistress alone. Catherine raised her lantern and smashed it against the glass. Shards exploded, slicing her skin, the lantern's fire spilling across the floor. The flames spread quickly, devouring the velvet curtains, the ancient wood. Smoke choked the air. For the first time, the house screamed, a shriek that shook the ground itself. The mistress staggered, her form flickering, her beauty cracking to reveal the corpse beneath. But the house did not burn like any mortal dwelling. The fire twisted, bending back on itself, swallowed by the very walls. The flames died, leaving only smoke and silence. The shattered mirror reformed before Catherine's eyes, whole again, unbroken. The mistress stood unscathed, her gown untouched, her smile sharper than ever. "You see, Catherine," she whispered, stepping close. "You cannot destroy me. You cannot leave. You are mine, and you will write my story forever." Her cold hand pressed to Catherine's cheek. The historian wanted to scream, to claw away, but her body obeyed. Her lips parted, and though her heart thundered in rebellion, her voice spoke the words that were not her own. "I will stay. I will write. I will be yours."